Yep, that'll work.
Let's go to room 2, maybe.
Okay, sure.
Yep.
Okay. So, second session of the day is triggering. One moment so I can see everything all at once. Triggering recorded voice over requests. So the idea is that we're going to play a little bit with recording your own voice and then adding that to our game files and having that be maybe what your NPC says instead of using the console output for when you actually start your quest. General idea of what we're going to be doing makes sense to everybody? And other than possibly recording your own voice, every step of what we're doing, you've already done. So does everyone know how to use some device to make a voice note or recording? Tim, are you saying yes or you have a question?
Yes.
Yes, excellent. All right. So that's kind of our first step is to record something. And, you know, you can beg, borrow, and steal from each other to record things in fun ways. Okay. Caffeine. I need both things today. So the first step of our lesson, we're going to give everybody 10-ish minutes, maybe, to record something. Make your own audio file. Okay? Sound good? That's our first step. And get it on your computer. 2 steps at once. Because I will be recording on my phone and then having to send it to my computer, right? That's how mine's going to work here. All right. So beg each other. If anybody's got super cool voice acting skills, you know, I don't at all. Don't ask me. Yeah. Ready, set, go record something for your character to say.
Everybody else is supposed to be recording a sound. I'm hungry. So.
This should be a very bad thing. Huh? Oh, this is a question. Yeah. Maybe it's something from my mom. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's how 2 of us. You're looking at one of them up. Oh. I can't.
Call from Washington, D.C.
Washington DC, huh?
Call from Washington, D.C. Call from Washington, D.C.
What's that? Almost what I want. Hello? Hello? What's that?
Having any more luck with the sound?
I didn't mess with them. I'm just listening this morning. Well, 16 people involved. I said there's 16 people. I was just seeing who they are. Oh, okay, so you're enough too.
Alexa, what time is it? The time is 12:19 p.m. Happy Thursday.
All right. Do we all have a file? Thumbs up from a Tim. Adam.
Yes, I have a file. So what do I do? I mean, I can always make. I've already recorded something.
Excellent. So you're going to make sure it's saved again in your resources folder, just like any other audio file we've used. And it does need to be, again, either a WAV or an OGG file. Okay. I'm gonna close and open my project so my new file shows up. Lovely. Right. I'm gonna share screen. Okay. So I have a list of sounds in my resources folder. These are skills we've already used. So who would like to tell me how I can add this sound to my game? How can I add my file, which is named quest1.wave? What is the first thing I need to do?
We have to load it.
And
We have to
before you
create-
can load it,
We have to create an
Adam.
audio object.
create an audio object. Yep. So I'm creating mine just in the class, again, in case I want to use it somewhere weird at any point in time. You create that audio object by starting with the word audio, capital A, and then a space, and then whatever you want to name it. I'm naming mine Quest 1, just so I can kind of keep track of everything I'm using. Right? That's our first step. Go here, and then we go to create game. And somewhere in create game, wherever floats your boat, you're going to load that sound. How do I load a sound?
Colon, capital L, load.
Yep, your variable name, colon, capital L, load will be the first thing that pops up for you. And then we put in our file path. For me, it's just in resources. Resources, which I would spell correctly, slash quest1.wave, end quotes, into parentheses. I have now loaded my sound. And I want my sound to trigger on collision with my NPC. So I'm going down to my begin collision. And I have all kinds of fun stuff in mind, so don't let that confuse you too much, hopefully. Instead of my output, hello, you have a tent to start with, which I don't necessarily want to take out. I'm just going to comment out for right now, in case I decide I want to have console and sound. This is where I had my output to begin with. I'm just going to say 1, colon, play. And in theory, when I run my game and I collide with my NPC, it should say my lovely recorded voice. Make sure I've clicked share sound here and run the game. Or forget to click back into the screen so it'll actually run. There we go. Now run the game. Oh no! I have a runtime error. File extension was unsupported.
Did you forget to put, when you put your file in, I don't think you put it coming out of resources.
I did put it in resources here. I did that before I hopped back on with everybody.
I mean, when you typed it in. So
Resource.
if you have resources quest 1, do you have to put it inside a tile set?
No, mine is not in tile sets. Mine, if it was in tile sets, there's the tile sets. Mine
Okay.
in resources. Yeah. Okay. What line are we looking at here? File extension is unsupported.
It's a WAV file, not an OGG.
WAV files work.
I'm getting that too. I did a recording on my iPhone and then emailed it to myself, but I don't know.
I specifically converted mine to a WAV. Who's here? Tim, I thought you were just talking, but you're muted if you were. If not talking, then you're good.
Unfortunately, isn't there multiple types of WAV files and some don't play on other devices?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. So let's see. I actually used a voice changer on mine, and that may have messed something up. Let's see if I can get Audacity to help me out here. Audacity. That guy. Open. File. I should just be able to export you as a wave.
Does it always have to have dot whatever kind of file it is, whatever kind of sound file it is?
Yeah, you definitely need your extension. Yes. Now let's go find a place to actually save this. No, you hate me? That seems fine. Okay, we'll just save it there. Oh, I'm in the wrong file. That's fine. Okay, no, I don't care. Just save the thing, will you? Well, you know what? Let's see. I can make it an OGG. Let's just go ahead and make it an OGG, shall we? This PC. Nope, this PC. There we go. Local disks. Users. Documents. Quorum. My game. My resources. Excellent. Save you right there. Yep. All right. So I just used Audacity to export it as an OGG file. See, that is part of the problem. I'm going to close the project and reopen it so that it recognizes the file now. All right. Now I do have to change in my code that it is now an OGG and not a WAV file. Other than that, see what happens. Oh no. Oh, it's saying it can't load my project. Okay. We need smarter help than me. Who's here?
I'm here.
You're here.
Did you convert it or did you mix it down from a stereo to a mono and you're using OGG now? Is that right?
It's an OGG. I didn't make it a mono. Should I do that?
Yeah. Just a thought.
I'll try it. I don't know. So let's see. File, open. Okay, now I've never
Oh, it is mono
How do you know that?
because I'm singing a single track there. There would be.
Okay. So that would mean that it was mono. Okay.
It was mono, so that's not the problem. Well,
This
hold it.
week is actually the first time I've used Audacity. So thanks, Tim.
Yeah, it's a fun program.
All right. So let's go ahead. We'll export it as WAV for there too. Yes, replace it. I have the other ones loading too. You're right. Whoops, wrong button. Except my game ran before trying to run this. So it is this file that I find suspicious. Now I have both a WAV and an OGG choice here, but
Does Windows play it to at least know it's successfully in your Windows computer? Outside of Quorum?
that is a lovely question. Okay, we're gonna close that. Let's try that. Go to resources.
Hello.
Yup, that's gross. I hate hearing my own voice so much. I can't play an OGG file on Windows. Or at least it says I can't. But the WAV worked. I think we should totally blame William for this one, Gabriel. I 100% agree. Let's change my file back to WAV.
Mine says it's a .m4a file now, and it plays
Yeah,
on.
that's
It
the
can't-
original file that you got from your phone, right? You did it from a phone. You now need to import that into something like Audacity to convert it into an OGG or a WAV file.
Okay.
We're just going to close all of those things. Open the project. William just took claim for the problem in Slack for us. So there we go. All right, we're going to try one more time. Wrong button. Try one more time. Nope.
Show me where your play is at, where you're actually getting it to play.
I'm having same kind of problem. My code is different from yours, but just same kind of problem. Interesting.
Okay, so we need to. I don't need an audio 3D in my. Oh. I have one in my palette, Gabriel. Be throwing it off with nothing loaded to it. I added placeholders, but I haven't used them yet.
Hey, what's up?
So we're getting this.
Oh,
um,
when you're loading the scene, huh?
Yeah, so Gabriel just said, is it the Audio 3D? So I have Audio 3D boxes.
Yeah.
But loaded any sounds to them. Is that maybe why it's mad at us?
Oh, you haven't loaded any sounds into those audio files?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is going to try and load your empty audio files, and then it's going to be really upset that how dare you give me
okay.
Something empty. Empty is not a valid file extension. Get out of here with your nonsense, which is probably not the behavior it should have, but
let's see if that fixes part of the problem. I'll just delete them because they're easy enough for me to put back. Okay. Oh, ha 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 ha.
Okay, now you're back to problems in your own code. So.
Because we had commented out things thinking they might be causing problems. All right. Excellent.
All right.
Okay, so my little guy is gonna walk here.
Hello. You have a tent to start with, but you need to build your own campfire. Find 5 rocks, and then come back to me.
Did everyone hear my horrible voice?
Actually, wasn't bad.
It's because I ran it through a voice distorter online first.
Feel free to summon me back in here if you have anything else you would like me to help debug, but otherwise I'm gonna hop out just because I'm working on the project. So
sure, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
We've learned some things. You can't have empty 3D audio hanging out in your scene. Excellent to know. The computer hates that. But once you fix that, so if anybody else had that issue, go ahead and run through and fix those things and see if yours also now runs. Mine was converted to a wave, yes. I just used Audacity to do it. You just open your file in Audacity and then export it as whichever one you want. And I can show that again, Steve, if you.
I have it. I just have it on my other computer.
Other computer. There's a whole bunch of online converters too.
Yep.
If you just want to type in free, whatever it is, A4, whatever your thing came in as, 2-wave converter, it'll let you throw it up and drag it down. Just depends on what you want.
Okay.
Out in the universe. The voice changer site that I use that's kind of fun is voicechanger.io. You load your clip in and then you click any of these various things. I have never run it for accessibility, so I do not know how well it works with a screen reader, but I use it to change my voice for things in class all the time. Just because I do hate hearing my own voice played back.
So your own voice distorted is more comforting to you than your voice undistorted.
Yes.
Okay, I'm learning more about you, even though we're not in person. So this is great.
Yep. I had a student who was so traumatized by hearing their own voice in feedback on Zoom that he did not speak on Zoom for 18 months.
Oh my.
Just chat. That is the only way, other than when he was in physical speech and language class. That is the only way he communicated with any of his teachers until we were back, well, for 12 months, until we were back in person in March. So he and I had a very deep understanding of hating to hear our own voices.
Now you're talking about your voice processed through speakers, not when you're just talking, right?
Yeah, no, just when it's processed through speakers.
Yeah, that weirdness. And I
It's
have a
very
TV
strange.
set that I don't like because it's got that true motion turned on. So I got to get that turned off tonight.
Has everybody else gotten their
Mine,
voice file to play as expected? I'm going to run my game again just to play my jump sound because I love it, quite honestly. So when my character jumps, I have a jump key. I love the jump. I think it's a great sound file. So. Yeah. Now I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. Hop over to lesson plan and think about what else we're supposed to be doing here. Oh, okay. So yeah, after adding our run into your quest giver, I think we already did this yesterday, but adding the count of picking up your items is supposed to be the next step in our lesson. Did we do that yesterday?
Can you show where you put that again to have the NPC talk when you did it? I just got everything converted.
Oh, when I did it? Sure.
Yeah.
I took out the Q command for talking to my NPC, and I actually put in a collision with my NPC. So here I have with the player and the NPC for the A and B for the collision. And then if they collide the first time,
Oh, okay.
I just play it there.
Okay.
I have quite a few different quests already coded in mine.
Oh, okay, cool.
Quite a few different steps already coded.
and to answer your question, yes, we did create a potion counter.
You did the counter yesterday. Okay.
Those you're looking for, it's at the very end of our code. If you did it, I don't know if everybody got it or not.
Did everybody get it? Did everybody get to that step? Because that is our next step in the lesson. So loading our file to start the quest and not have it be just console is one. And then adding our counter. I thought we had gone ahead and done that. It made more sense in yesterday's assignment anyway. Okay, so if anybody needs help with their counter, let me know. And then did we add checking once it's done? Like we've successfully finished the quest. Did we add that behavior or how to check for that? I actually think I might. Pull up the other program here instead of my own. It's called trigger recorded voice. There we go.
I don't see that we've done it.
Excellent. Then let's move on to that. Okay, so I'm going to switch out of my personal game and use the one that we've been using that is the barrels and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
And okay. So here's the code with the barrels, with our potions. We've actually added a monster to what? One moment, please. Please hold. Oh, this is not the one I want.
Is this the one William's working on?
No, this is the answer to this current quest. So I want to.
Yeah.
I want to go back one.
The one that Will was doing yesterday, I thought we had a repeat loop to work on. Oh, and that was for establishing them and stuff. Never mind. I'm not in the right spot in my mind.
No, but you also end up with we have a counter that will
We use the counter to keep our place in the repeat loop to know if they've all been shown, type of thing.
But did we do a counter when you pick them up?
I thought.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I thought we did.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
But we don't think
So, spatial.
anything to say.
And
when
it
the
tells us
counter
how
is
many
shown.
we have, but that's
Okay.
it.
Okay, excellent. That's where we're at then. Get back to this thing. Should be that one. Where did you go, Quorum? There we go. Weird. All right. Close those so I don't accidentally look at the wrong things again, which I'm good at. All right. Source code. Excellent. Scenes. Excellent. Yeah. All right. Now it all looks like it's doing the right thing. So this isn't going to have sound, the spatial sound to it, just because that doesn't matter for right now. We have our characters. We've added our items to their array. The potion makes a noise when we run into it. Huh. There we go. Okay. So we have something like a collision with your character and the potions, right? And we have a counter that counts them up and removes them as we hit them. Does that make sense to everybody? Is that what everybody has? This is a very different answer. How about we go over to one?
That's quite different.
I think mine might be a closer answer. Okay, so I have a couple of hints thrown in for my collecting that I did. So I had, like, if it was only one rock, it said you've collected one rock and how many you have left to find. Okay, but I have a counter here that is my rocks equals rocks plus one, right? Because I'm collecting rocks, not potions. Does that make sense to everybody?
Sure.
Okay. And then I do have a check here that if rocks equals 5, which is the number of rocks, it will output you have all 5 rocks go back to the helper, which is my quest giver, right? And I have used a Boolean that at that point turns true, saying that that quest is done. Does that idea make sense to everyone? Have we set that up for anything yet? When I'm colliding, I'm counting rocks. I have a check here that when rocks equals 5, to say you've got them all, and that I have a Boolean that flips to true. Why would I want this Boolean here that's going to be flipping from false to true? Why would we want that in our code?
To show you that those tasks.
Right, because it'll also, when you use a Boolean like that, it lets you kind of split up the collisions, right? So I can now, the way I have it set up is that once that flips to true, the next time I go talk to that same person, my fire ring shows up on my screen. Or, in this case, it would be the next time you go talk to him and it's flipped to true, it could be great. Now we can make our potion. Does that make sense to everyone? And do we understand how we could add that to your own code? That checking that you're done because you've collected all of your items.
And you can use it to advance the story. Basically, that's
yes.
That's
so.
Boolean.
I created that Boolean up in my class, right? I created it way up at the top. I made a Boolean. I have a whole little section here that is called Quest Booleans. And I have start campfire, and I have campfire done, and I have chop wood. Those are the 3 little quests that I have started, right? So I have with my collisions with my quest giver that if start campfire is true, he's going to give that first quest, right? And as soon as he says that statement, it flips to false so that he doesn't repeat his statement over and over and over and over again. So right here, I have if it's true, do play the sound I made, start my counter, have all my rocks show up, right? So this is the counter here is for showing the rocks, for showing your potions. And then I flip that Boolean to false so that it doesn't keep showing all of my rocks every time you go talk to him. That would be awful to reset the rocks every time, right? And then if that's false and I haven't finished, I have him give you a hint. But if I have finished, I start my next quest. So I know that I have finished my task and I flip it to true when in my collision with my rocks, I say if rocks equals 5, output you're all done, and flip that Boolean to true. Does that idea make sense to you? Can I help anybody with making it make sense for their own code? Because I know we're all kind of doing our own thing with spaceships, and I don't even know what Gina's making or Teresa's making. Y'all haven't said much about your actual games, but I feel like I lost people.
I'm still here. I'm just, mine's in and it does something.
Does it do what you want it to do?
Well, I don't know what I want it to do yet. So, I mean,
fair.
I need something dramatic after they get these 5 potions in my case, which are look like barrels, but
we don't. There's very large potions. All right, just very large potions. Okay, Teresa, that's fine. That is completely acceptable. All right. Andrew's looking around like maybe he's got it. Or are you just on your own little world going on and on and on up there? I don't know. Boolean flag.
So I've got my spaceship in place,
Yes.
but I am working on the navigation to find out what's the closest thing. So I'll finish that.
Okay.
And then I would probably need a fair bit of help in actually figuring out where my stuff is on the scene.
Mhm.
I have written the ending of my quest.
Good job.
But I haven't written the beginning because the beginning is going to be sort of automatic. So no key.
Mhm.
So yeah, something like that is what I'm planning to do. So I need about 45 minutes of consistent work, and I think I should be ready to show something.
Okay. Excellent. Well, we have 35 minutes until lunch to not necessarily end the quest, but to get this counting to 5 and having something happen. Okay. That's really what our last chunk of time here before lunch is. So if anybody else wants to share screen or actively debug or swap ideas, you just want to stare at my code, you want to go get an Irish coffee, I don't know, whatever you want to do, it's up to you, you're adults. You guys kind of tell me where we're at, because I know everybody's building and doing their own thing. If you want me to start a whole new simple file and show the counter again, I can do that. Whatever we need.
I would just like to report that my counter works, and I now have triggered an event when I get to 5. I'm amazed.
Good job, Tim. It's kind of cool, like when that actually works.
Yeah.
Huzzah! Yeah, mine, when you pick up the 5 rocks and you go talk to the guy again, the campfire shows up over by the tent, and I was kind of excited that I managed to get that to work. So, and not fall off the side of my cliff, because I kept doing that too. My velocity or my whatever, my force was set way too high.
I'm running into a weird bug.
Sure.
In my update. And this doesn't really have to do with sound so much. I got the sound working and it's all working the way I want it to. But I have in my update that I have like this box that's supposed to stay in front of my spaceship. And it does in the beginning. And if I hit enough keys fast enough, it no longer seems to stay in front and just sort of stays static. So I've got this box that's supposed to correspond with 3 numbers that are based on the player's position.
Mm-hmm.
And with the Z, I added 20 to it, so it's out front.
Just a little bit in front, sure.
Yeah. So, and it's supposed to update and set position every single time.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a box out front and it suddenly stops.
I see that. Yeah.
I can make it disappear, and that's intentional, but like it stopped updating for some reason. And I don't know why. I have no idea why it stopped updating. But if I go and, run it again, going right, going left, stays there, and then suddenly it stops staying in front for some reason. I have no idea why.
Your code again?
So I did the same thing, literally the exact same thing with the camera, so that the camera follows behind the spaceship. So I figured if I just did it, the same way with the reticle, it would, stay in the spot that it's supposed to stay.
Output those reticle values every frame or every second or something. Let's see if they're changing. If they stop
every second.
Well, put them on one line, like otherwise.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's gonna get spammed 60 times a second, so or whatever. So
Oh, I
plus.
did equals.
You're all good. I'm curious if they're all coming from the player, so they
Yeah,
should be.
they're all coming from the exact same location,
Yeah.
the same data.
You might want to put a space in after your commas, just to make it easier to read.
I happen to like it altogether, but you know what?
Fair.
Fine. All right, so it's outputting. And then it's doing something weird with the output. So
weird.
And now it's crashed. There's too many values. It got mad at me. So it's keeping the Y and the Z coordinates, but then I have no idea what's going on. Let's see. Oh, then it holds static at a certain point. It just, I don't know if it can process for some reason. It's holding static at negative 3.235, blah, 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 or whatever for this instance. And it was updating prior to that. So I don't.
Why would that?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. My mental processor is processing. You want to zip up your project and send it to me, maybe? I don't have a hypothesis just from looking at this piece right here.
I got to remember how to do that.
You just have to do it out of Quorum Studio. Oh wait, so okay, right click on your thing and say clean. Just clean, yeah. And now minimize Quorum Studio and find the project wherever you put it. In Windows, so. And then right click on that and then say compress. All right, yeah. Or compress. Oh, don't do it in RAR. Oh, that's RAR. Wait, go send to. There should be a send to. And then compress zip folder. And then just toss that up on Slack.
Okay.
If you don't mind. I don't have a. That sure seems like that is just all you're doing is just getting the values. That should be okay. I don't know what's going on there. I will download it and look. I will mute myself as my brain processes so other people can ask questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else want to share code? Figure it out.
I have a different issue related to this, and it has to do with the scene relative to the objects in it. The collidable area doesn't match up with the location of the object if you scale it up too much, from what I can tell.
Yes.
Which
larger you scale the object, the weirder those vertices get.
Yeah.
Talked about that.
Yeah, but this is sort of different. It's like the box for the collisions is actually not in the same area as the visual model.
That
so
is
they're offset
true.
from each other.
It is a bug, and we know about it, and we were hoping to fix it before 3.0, but we ran out of time.
Okay, cool. I was just
yeah, that's an astute observation. It's why sometimes you see the little guy bounce through the floor a little bit. That's the same reason why that is. We know about it, but we tried to find it before release, but I think William lost about 4 days to it, and then he kind of gave up. So we'll have to try again at some point soon.
Yeah, no, I was trying to fly my spaceship, over the rocks or underneath the rocks in one spot, and it was like crashing into nothing. And I was like, but why are you doing that? And then I figured out, I went and actually looked at the objects, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. The position of the hitbox is not the same as the position of the actual object
Yeah, it's not intuitive and it's not correct. So I forget. I think it was just like the trick is that it's trying to synchronize across the graphic system and the physics system, and it's just a straight up bug. So
okay.
It's not supposed to do that. So the funny thing with these physics systems is that the reason they don't just sync up directly to the model, that there has to be a translation, is because you can imagine a like dragon model that had like 100 million polygons in it. Well, you don't want to do collision detection across all those 100 million polygons on every frame because you're going to melt your processor. So any like advanced physics system, they break it into broad and narrow band passes. And like the broad are like, imagine the dragon's a box. It's like the classic math joke is imagine a cow is a sphere. It is the same joke here, right? So it's somewhere between those narrow and broadband passes, somewhere in the nether regions of the math. And that's what we have to track down. And we just haven't finished yet. So
okay, cool. I mean, it doesn't break the game. So
no. Yeah, that's what we thought too. Like it's annoying, but it's not like devastatingly annoying.
Right. And I mean, not relevant in most instances, especially if you're not scaling up the objects massively.
Yeah, and you can also change those boxes. You can get them and manually change their positions. You can also pass them a physics shape and pass whatever information you want to it. So you can actually override them and then tell it that shape of that box is whatever you want it to be.
Okay.
So you could do that too, but the default needs to be a little bit smarter. So like, for example, you could pass your hypothetical dragon and tell it, I want you to collide with all these vertices. And if you do that, the big benefit is that your dragon could like have its head get hit instead of like the whole body. But even in AAA games, oftentimes they don't because that ends up being pretty expensive computationally. So you end up limiting what kind of computers can use your video game, basically. So they end up using it the most in movies because they can just send that to an offline processor, and that's why they look so good. So
does anyone else have a question or want to jump in and share / look at something? Because I have a third issue.
Hit the S key to begin.
Oh, Stefix.
That's my fault.
Yeah, you're good.
It's playing with things. I said Stefik is playing with things.
Got it. The third item, if nobody else has anything, because I don't want to take up all the time, has to do with the array that I was working with earlier and trying to get the laser to shoot multiple times. So I fiddled around with it to the best of my ability, and I'm not entirely certain. I have a feeling of why this is happening, but the issue that I am having with this is that I have my variable laser that's supposed to be the thing that accesses the laser array, and it gets counter just like what we practiced yesterday. And once I've got whatever the item is from the counter, so 0 through 9, so there's 10 of them, it sets the position it will play some audio, it'll show it, and it'll set the vector for it, and then the counter will update at the end of that every time the X key is pressed. But once I hit the X key, it fires the one thing, and if I hit X again, the thing that I fired, I would think, since it's a separate object from the others in the array, I would have thought that it would just keep going. And then the next laser object would come in from the array the next time I hit the key, and it would fire forward. But when I hit the X key, the original laser disappears, and then the next laser gets brought in. So I'm not sure why that's happening.
Okay.
I can show that.
Yeah.
So if I fire it, it fires forward, but it resets.
Yeah, I see that.
I don't know if the audio is coming through. It's kind of loud on my end, but
No, you
good.
don't have share audio.
I don't want to share the audio. It's kind of annoying.
You know you can set volume down, right?
I can. I do.
Yeah, I think, where are you getting from your array for this laser?
So it's getting
Get counter. Okay.
Yeah, it's getting counter. So whichever counter number it is at the time, and counter is equal to 0 initially. But once it reaches 10, if we do counter is 9 and then counter plus 1 is 10. If counter is 10, then it resets to 0, so it goes back to the original item in the array. Oh. So every time a key is pressed, it will be set to 0, so it will never move.
Why? Why?
I don't know why that would be.
Where did you create counter?
So counter
is a global.
Yeah, it's a global. So it's all the way. Where did I put it?
Yeah, count. It's up at the top. I just saw it.
Yeah, integer counter equals 0. So that's set
Are you
initially.
sure? Yes, it's right there. I can see it. Why isn't it green? Oh.
Oh. That's a good question. Oh. Huh.
You are.
Oh, I had another one. Pressed key. That's the problem. Ha. Nice. Okay, let's see if that fixed it. I had a second integer counter. All right. Oh, well, it's shooting out different ones at a different angle. I like it though. It's working for me.
I mean, whoa. Oh, it bounced off your rock. I love it. Why do you randomly have a gray one?
Because one of them didn't get changed for the color. Okay, so it's working now. Awesome. All right.
Your
Excellent.
lasers bounce off your targets.
They do bounce off the targets. I need to set up a collision event for that. That's a different thing.
I kind of like the laser bouncing off and hitting you in the face.
It can in fact, come back and smack my own spaceship. That would be a problem. I'll get that figured out later. And then it would make a crash noise, and that would be real fun. I have to set up the collision events for that, but that resolved the issue. Thank you for catching that, Gabriel.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Nice catch, Gabriel.
That has resolved the issue.
All right, I found the problem. On your reticle, you have physics enabled, and so
I have to disable the physics.
Disable physics, and then it'll work fine. Because I was like, why is it? So the funny thing with physics is that if you have physics enabled, the physics system itself is moving the item behind the scenes, and it's doing whatever it does to make decisions about that movement happen. So you actually turn off collision, which ironically, if you turn off collision, it should turn off physics too, when I think about it, probably as a default, but it doesn't. And so the physics system is still doing that. And then it must be just adjusting its position, and therefore eventually it just kind of freaks out. I don't know exactly why it gives the behavior you're seeing off the top of my head. There's probably a good reason for it, but I don't know. But if you turn off physics, everything works fine.
Okay, I've just done that. I'll go test it out real quick.
Do it.
Oh, nope. I just ran into an error. Oh, that's a problem because I'll just turn those into comments. So I ran into an error because I still had the lines about the reticle being able to rotate and is collidable. So if physics are disabled, those lines of code cause a problem.
Oh, really? All I did was just say enable physics false on the reticle, and it worked just fine. I added, I'll put it in Slack. That and only that line of code on line 99, and that's all I changed, and it worked fine. Weirdly.
hit the S key to begin.
I just crashed. Sorry. No, wait. I don't know why I'm apologizing for crashing in your game.
Excellent. All right.
How's everybody else doing? What mad game are you inventing there, Mike?
Honestly, I've been doing a bunch of tech stuff. So I totally missed this entire session.
No!
But
damn, having to do work.
I did get the quest, my first quest to work correctly, which is really great. It's a super boring game right now, but it works, which is great. Yeah.
Steffi, can I do a for loop with Quorum? For loop. For
Yes.
something.
Oh.
You can do a
Then-
loop, but not using the word
Not for.
Oh,
Yeah.
you cannot use the word for loop. Oh, okay. That's
No,
why.
every loop in Quorum uses the word repeat because there's strong empirical evidence that the word is easier for humans to understand because the word for doesn't actually mean anything. So
because I come from a C++ background, so that's my problem.
I get it completely. Yeah, we actually ran a formal randomized controlled trial on exactly this question, oddly enough. And this is one of the reasons why all the block languages now also use the word repeat. So because the word repeat, I think it's triple the comprehension, something like that. I mean, it's a lot. It's a huge effect. So it sounds some, but when you think about it, it makes sense because the words repeat 10 times are more semantically meaningful than for left paren and die equals 0 semicolon I less than 10 semicolon.
Yeah, correct,
right,
correct.
paren, left
Yes,
brace.
yes.
Right? You know what I mean? So
Yes. It's more linguistically available.
yeah,
accessible.
it means it does what it says, right? It does what
Yes,
it
yes.
means. So we often do that kind of stuff on Quorum, and
Yeah.
it's interesting because if you have a previous background, you do have to learn something, and that's tough. On the other hand, anytime you switch programming languages, they've got a whole flat out standard library. None of those are standardized across the languages. So you're relearning the vast majority of everything anyway. So, changing the loop syntax is a minor sin, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's why I'm so slow with grasping the Quorum syntax because I come from a C++ Java background. So
yeah,
I sometimes I do struggle.
There are some tutorials on some of the basic syntax like loops and if statements and stuff, and they're on the website on, let me pull them up so you have them. Let's see. So here's the one on, and if you have a C++ background, it shouldn't be too bad. I'm putting into Slack the one on loops. And if you want to know some of the other stuff like how you define functions, they're pretty similar. Here's defining functions. And the general, all the reference tutorials are, and I'm just posting that in now, on the reference page. So it's quorumlanguage.com/reference.html. And that's a lot of handwritten tutorials on like types and variables, operators, casting, comments, loops, conditionals, actions, classes, libraries, inheritance, generics, autoboxing, arrays, containers, the equivalent of exceptions in Quorum, which are called errors, how to write plugins down to Java, and it just goes on and on from there. There's like hundreds and
actually,
hundreds of these.
I have quite a lot of them saved as on my local drive already.
Right.
Okay, now yeah. So since you touched on classes, that is where I always hit a loophole. Okay, for example, I tried writing a separate behavior class for a certain object, and I tried to cast it as into the main game class.
Okay.
I cast that file into the main game class, but they don't work.
It's hard for me to know exactly what you're saying unless I can see the code or
or
something.
Okay, I'm
cast the behavior into a game class. I'm not quite sure.
You know that code. Let's say I write a behavior file, and then I want it to inherit objects from the game itself from the game, from main.quorum itself?
Yeah, I would have to see the code. So I'm not quite sure exactly what that means. So that actually sounds like it might be an error. So it sounds wrong to me, but if you can toss the code in Slack or something, or pieces of it, that would be, I could give you some.
Okay, let me write the main line in the chat. Like just let me search for it.
Where are we at on time?
We have 10 minutes until lunch.
Okay, well, I don't know what people are doing, but it's possible we could also let people kind of head off and like get lunch and stuff. You know,
I was just about to that because I think people are just kind of derping around on their own code at the moment.
I suspect so. And then if people want to continue the derp, that's no problem. And if not, then that's okay too. So it's 30 minutes is pretty short for lunch anyway, so it's probably not a bad thing. So okay, well then for Jafar, go ahead and get that code, toss it into Slack when you can, and then I'll look at it when I get back from lunch. For everybody else, I will see you back here at 11 or 2 o'clock Eastern, depending upon wherever you are. The last session for today for those things will be the complete quest behaviors. As a friendly reminder, we do have the Epic Elections and Community Meeting. If you don't want to go to that, you don't have to. It's not required or anything. But there's two things we do there. One is we do the elections. That doesn't take very long. And then we do we have a discussion. And this year's discussion will be a couple things. One is we have to decide what we're going to do for next year. And we have to, we usually talk about any issues or things people are having on the environments, bugs, or errors or whatever it is, so that we can go back with a list of like what things we think the community would like changed for a new version. So in other words, we're always trying to be responsive to feedback. And so we kind of try to get like a priority list of like what should be altered for the next year. So anyway, yeah, you guys can stop the recording and then let's go ahead and take our